Okay. I recently saw an artist in social media who made a set of custom art prompt cards for journaling and collaging and making mixed media art. They were inspired by a course on Skillshare by an artist named Denise Love, and Denise has a ton of really great looking Skillshare classes on Skillshare, and she is also in social media. If you have a minute to look her up, she makes really beautiful things. So anyways, basically they are little prompt cards for yourself that you make yourself using these 60 different art prompts that Denise provides as a resource in her Skillshare course. I have already printed mine out. I used this colored paper. For some reason at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought I would need like 500 sheets of multicolored printer paper, and I never really used any of it, so I'm looking for ways to use it up. So I thought that I would take my palette from the colors of paper that I have, and I chose these four here. I thought they look nice and bright and fun. The actual course is using a palette and some inspiration from the art of Gustav Klimt, and I am going to get into that a little bit using some of the motifs that you sometimes find in Klimt's paintings, but otherwise I'm just going to go with my own palette. So these are my little art prompts. There's 60 of them. They all sound great, and the idea is that you paint a big sheet of paper with lots of different mediums and textures and stencils and mark making and all kinds of good stuff, and then you cut them up into little cards and glue the prompts on the back, and then you've got your own little set of art cards. So I have a whole variety of things here, and my biggest watercolor pad that I have, I've got some Posca markers, an acrylic paint marker, just a regular marker. I decided to also make this an exercise in using some things I don't use all the time, or very often. So I pulled out some stencils that I haven't used in a really long time. This is like kind of a botanical one. I like these differently shaped squares. A little bit of an animal print thing going there. Another botanical thing, and this like honeycomb thing. So these two are very different for me. I don't tend to use a lot of geometric shapes in my work, so I'm looking forward to giving that a try. And I also have lots of different mediums here. In the class with Denise, she uses watercolor paint to fill her page. I decided I'm going to use these Caran d'Ache gouache paints. So this is the pan style gouache paint. So it's water-based gouache. It reactivates when you use water on it, obviously. So I've had these for a long time. I just haven't used them in a really long time, and I don't even know why. I just forget about stuff. I also pulled out this beautiful fluorescent pink because I've got a pink piece of paper with some of the art prompts on it, so I want to use some of that. And I've got some just white and black acrylic paint to do some of the mark making and stencils with, and I also pulled out this really nice gold acrylic paint that I love. I like how Denise used a lot of gold in her art, and then of course Klimt uses a lot of gold in his art. I've got some Neocolor 2s here. These are the brand new 50th anniversary sets from Caran d'Ache. These were really hard to find in Canada. I finally found them online from an art store in British Columbia called Opus Arts. I love Opus Arts. Anyways, these are beautiful little sets of Neocolor 2 crayons, and they have a couple of special edition colors in them, which are really lovely, and I'm just looking forward to using some of these. So I will pull out some of these when I'm working on some of my mark making. Not many of them really go with the palette that I'm using, but I think I'll be able to use this green, and actually this green is going to go perfect. So anyways, Neocolors, and then of course I have like my big master set of Neocolors that I put into this little postcard tin, because the other tin that they came in was kind of big. But anyways, lots of Neocolors, and yep, that's it. So I'm gonna get going now, working on my giant page. This is a watercolor pad that I picked up at, if you're in Canada and you know the HomeSense stores, they have an interesting little art supply section in them sometimes. So I picked this up for like $5 or something. So that was really great. I don't use it very often. The paper isn't top quality, but it's really great for doing things that are not too precious. And I actually like the way the paint moves on the paper. So I'm going to start just kind of filling in the space on my paper with some big blobs of color, taking my inspiration from Denise and her course. I'm going to use these yellows I'm going to go with this bright yellow here. I'm going to just reactivate some of these before I get going too much here. And I'll put some water on this orange one to get that going. And I'm probably going to use this green here. And then, as I mentioned, I'm going to use some of this bright pink gouache, and then just to like save space on my table, I'm going to put a blob of that up here on the mixing tray that comes right with these, right with this gouache set. All right, so those are my 4 colors that I'm going to stick with, and then I'm going to use some neutrals over top. So I'm just going to get going here. And I just really liked the way that Denise was like really random with her blocks of colors and her shapes that she's using. I'm using a Filbert brush here. This is a 3/4 inch Filbert brush. I like these. They're not too, they give you kind of more fluid shapes. They're not like a typical square shape. It's got these like this rounded end on it. And some more just like blobs here and there of these colors. Oops, I got a little bit of the orange in there, but that's okay. So the thing to remember is that these are going to end up being little cards. So you don't want like the blobs of color or anything to be too big, so that the card doesn't become just, you know, one thing. So I can already see that I made this blob a little bit too big. But anyways, I'm just going to keep going. Put some green in here and there. There's a green big space in there. I'll fill that in a little. And then you are leaving lots of white space between your blobs because you're going to want to do your mark making there. So now I'm going to come and use this great neon pink color that I really like. Ooh. Yep. Let me just like blob that all over. It's going to look nice next to all these colors, I think. I love this, so I'm looking for like opportunities to put this in. Okay, probably gonna like fill it up a little too much now with color after I just said let's leave some empty places. So okay, I think that's looking good. Give me a few minutes to let this dry, and then I'm gonna be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to start making some marks on my paper, and I kind of liked this look of using your paintbrush to make some of the marks instead of just coming right in with a stencil. So I'm going to do just a little bit of that. I'm going back to some of my colors, and I'm going to do some little lines using this green here. That's fun. So just like a little laddery thing, and I'm overlapping things a little bit in places. Maybe I'm going to stagger them a little. Okay. Another one over here. Okay, that's cool. And then I have like a little brush that's like a fine, not a filbert, it's short. I don't know what this is called, honestly, but it's a great brush. So I'm gonna make some little like flowery shapes kind of thing with this, and maybe I'll try using some more of the orange because the orange didn't come out that opaque on the paper. So I'm just gonna like do a little of this, little flowery roundy shapes. Okay. I'm starting to layer some things around here, so that's fun. Okay, I think that's good for that. Now I'm gonna let that dry for a sec. And then I'm gonna start doing a little bit of stenciling, I think. Okay, so I think that's it for the marks that I'm gonna make right now. I think everything's all nice and dry. I'm going to start doing some stenciling, and I pulled out a piece of wax paper here so that I can use this to put my paint on it before I start using stencils. I'm going to use black for this, I think, and then later on I'm going to try using some white in some spots. So I use, that doesn't look good, does it? I use this paint, I think, is a little bit old or something, but anyways, there it is. I like using wax paper. It's cheap. It's $1 at the dollar store. And I use these like 2 or 3 times, and then I just throw them out. And I think it's really the most environmentally friendly thing I could come up with for palettes. I don't want to use up a lot of other types of paper products. I try not to use a lot of plastic these days, and I have ceramic paint palettes, but I just forget about them and never wash them. Anyways, so I've dabbed around some of my black paint there on my sponge, and you're better off when you're stenciling to have like a little bit of paint on your sponge, and you'll get a better look on your stencil if you've got just a little bit of paint. So I'm kind of curious about this honeycomb thing, and I think it might look nice with some of it just like dabbed on top of some of the pink and green here. So I'm just putting a little bit of that in spots. This is like a very different look of things for me. I don't use these colors, and I do a lot of like botanical art and not too much abstract. Oh, I kind of like that. Okay, so let me just do a little bit more in some areas. I'm not thinking through, like I'm not overthinking anything. I'm just gonna try to go for it and see what happens with this whole thing, because this is a very like different kind of a project for me. I don't do a lot of abstract, and even when I do abstract, it's a lot of nature themes. So this is quite different so far. I'm probably gonna bring in some nature themes in a sec. Okay, I'm just dabbing around here with my black in a few places, keeping some of it smaller because, as I said before and keep forgetting, these cards are only going to be like 3 inches by 4 inches or something like that. So I don't want the whole card to be just this. Okay, that's enough of that one. Let me try some of these square things here. This is kind of interesting. Huh, all right. It looks like kind of a brick. And also this color scheme is reminding me a lot of the 80s. Back in the 80s, we wore a lot of bright colors and a lot of neon. Neon was a thing back then. I remember I had all these great like neon t-shirts and leggings and bracelets and this and that. I really like how this is coming out here with those lines, so I'm repeating a little bit of that. And okay, I think that's it for that one. And now let me try some of this leopard print-y thing. But you know, I think this might look kind of cool if I went in on top of some of these shapes with some white. So I'm going to put some white paint on my palette that I'm using here. Nope, that's the black. Hold on. White. Maybe a little too much. Okay, I'll just use the other end of the sponge for this. Just a little, like, you don't want too much on your sponge or you're just not gonna get a nice effect. So why don't I think it's not gonna really show up on the yellow, but I'm kind of curious. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so I'm wrong. I like that. Let me do some more on the yellow. Okay, and then maybe a little over here. Okay, and then up here, let me put some on the pink. Great. Okay, I really like this stencil. It shows up in a lot of things that I've made. A little more white there, over here. So really, like, this is just about kind of going for it and not thinking too much about things as you're doing them. So I got some of these out now. I'm not totally sure if I want to use these or not, but okay, I'm not going to. What about this one? Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. So why don't I like put a little bit of that in white in some different places. Like here on this green blob, put a little bit of botanical thing. Okay, that's fun. So I'm kind of like creating too much of a pattern in some places, I think. I don't have to put the same stuff on every, you know, all over, because I'm going to be cutting up these things into little cards, cutting up this whole thing into little cards. Okay, that's kind of fun, I think. Maybe a little more over here. I think some of this might be off camera-ish because this is a really big piece of paper. Okay, maybe I want to put a little bit up here and just like, nope, here. Okay, so this is looking really fun now, and yeah, so I'm gonna let this dry and come back and do some other stuff. Okay, so I think this is nice and dry now. I was kind of looking at it while things were drying, and I really like handwriting stuff on my art lately. So I was just thinking, what if I take a marker and just like write some stuff all over it and see what that comes out like. So what am I gonna write about here? It's like a stinking hot summer, so I'm just gonna write some little words about that. And I'm going really messy. can't remember there ever being a hotter summer, and by noon the plants need more water and they are starting to wilt. Okay, what about up here? And today I gave them an umbrella. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see how that looks later when these are all cut up into little cards. Okay, so then I had started making these little flower shapes here. Maybe I'll give them some centers so that it's a little bit more clear that it's a flower. And then I'm gonna do some other things with a little bit of that gold and just see how everything goes. Okay, so I've got this, what do you call it? Art marker, acrylic pen marker. So I'm going to just give these some little like centers, and Denise in her video pointed out that Klimt puts a lot of spirals in his art, or put a lot of spirals in his art. I keep using the present case like he's still alive, present tense, but he's not. So some little spirally things to suggest that these flowers have a little bit of a center in there. That's it for that. Okay, now I want to like do some other types of marks. I think I'm going to use some of my Neocolor 2s and do like some little more scribbly scrolly things. So what about using this orange in a few different places, and then I'm sort of mimicking the pattern from these flowers that I started here. I love like a little scrolly-ish thing. Okay, we'll do like a little one like that, a little spiral thing. Okay. Okay, there's a little more of a scrolly thing. Okay, maybe I'll do a little bit of black, little things here and there. What if I did some like a little chevron-y thing? Okay, so that's sort of bringing in a botanical idea again. That's good. These remind me of little pine boughs. And I'm just kind of going for it here. Okay, that's good. And what else am I gonna do? I don't know, this looks a little nuts to me, but I'm gonna keep going with it. some little dots. Just some dots in some random places. Okay. And then I know that I had said that I was going to use gold, but this is a really kind of cool color palette, so I'm actually thinking I'm going to use silver and just see how that looks. And what am I going to do with the silver? I'm going to look for another stencil, I think, and do something with that. Hang on. Okay, so I didn't find a stencil that I like. I'm just going to paint some stuff in some silver. I've got just like a silver acrylic paint here. And I'm just going to do some like little dabby bean or leaf shapes here and there. I'm just using the brush. Just basically the shape of the brush. I'm just dabbing that around. It looks nice on the green. Okay, I think that's enough. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna cut all these up and see how we go. Be right back. Okay, so there we go. So then these cards are about 2 inches by 3 inches, and the idea is that you pick whatever prompts you're really interested in. There's 60 of them. I'm not going to get 60 out of this page, obviously, but we'll see how many we get. And then I might decide I'm going to fill in some more pages with stuff. But I think I'm just going to pick a few and just kind of go for it. But first I have to cut this paper down into pieces that are about 3 by 2. But I actually think that my paper cutter, I was thinking I'll use my paper cutter for this because it'll fit in there this way anyway. So my paper cutter is, it's in centimeters. So I have to figure that out, or maybe I'll just eyeball it. I don't know, what the heck. If I do like a long strip there, and maybe I bring it over to about there, no. Okay, so if the knife is gonna go, if the cutter is gonna go in about roughly in the middle of this thing, I'm gonna bring it over a little bit more. I'm just kind of eyeballing things here. There's like a lot of different ways that you could do this, I guess. And I think I'm gonna go off camera for this. Okay, so I actually just kind of had a brainwave that I'm gonna cut the card and the paper at the same time so that they're roughly gonna be about the same size. So I've just layered them on top of each other, and I'm just gonna use my paper cutter and just go right down and cut them all out this way. There we go. That's one. And I'm really just kind of eyeballing it. 2. Oops, keep that straight. Okay. 3. And then let me do another sheet and I'll be right back. Okay, so that worked out not too bad. Except I've got this like one extra skinny strip here, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that. Maybe I'll just make some of them skinnier, but anyway, okay, so I've got the strips going that way. And this is my first time doing this, obviously, so things are a little bit like learn as you go. I guess some of this wasn't totally dry, but anyway. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut these the other way, and I'm probably just gonna go with some scissors for that. But why don't I start just kind of identifying where I wanna make the cuts for these cards so that they kind of go with the theme that's on the front here. All right, well, there's a dream garden. That could kind of go there. Oh no, but wait, I have to cut them the other way first. Let me do that. Let me cut one of these out with my scissors. I have some bigger scissors somewhere. Let's do this dream garden one first. Okay. So now, I mean, I guess the thing is I could almost cut them that way and just make them a little shorter, and then I'd get more. Yeah. Okay. All right, I gotta go figure this out because now I'm realizing like these are not the same width, and I think I'm just gonna have to not be too much of a perfectionist here. Let me just try to get these so that they're all the same width. That'll probably help. Okay, so there, that part's done. And then I think I was just saying that maybe if I make them a little bit shorter, then I'll get more cards out of it. Out of these strips that I've already done. Okay. So let me take one of these and get the width right first. Straight-ish. Okay, yeah, I didn't really like that because it's thick. Let me try again. All right. Okay, that was not too bad. And then like they're still a little bit different sized at the back, but that's okay. I'm gonna like cut this. Okay, so I thought I would try and put that one on like a piece where there's something gardeny looking, but I'm not there yet. So let me cut some more. I'm just gonna keep using this one as the guide. So eventually I'm gonna have a bunch of cards, little cards. Okay, and then we'll just go through and through. I'm probably going to have to end up changing this thing soon. The blade, I mean, on the cutter. There we go. Back one more time. Okay, so this worked out not too bad. Okay, and then I'm gonna have some leftover bits, and I keep those. I have a little box that I call my inspiration box that's got just a whole bunch of stuff in it. Okay, so then I've got all these little cards. I don't know how many I have, but they're roughly the same size. And then I can probably get some out of this strip now. Yeah. A little bit skinnier. But this is not going to be like an exact science here on any of this. Okay. When I'm editing this, I'm going to just fast forward through all of this. Okay, so that's it for the cutting out of the cards. That's great. And I don't know how many I've got here, but we're gonna find out as I go. And these are just really, really cute. Okay, so I was looking for something that would go with this dream garden theme. I think this works. Paint abstract flowers and vines, overlapping them for a lush dreamlike effect. So there's a little bit of abstract flowery and vine action going on that one. And I'm just gonna get into gluing these on the back. Oh, you know what? It's like 40 degrees here, and I keep forgetting that the heat, it's actually hot enough that things are melting. We don't leave the air conditioning on all the time because it's just too much, and occasionally we've got like warnings from our hydro provider. I think in the States it's called electricity, but in Canada it's called hydro, and we've gotten some warnings from them saying demand is at an all-time high, can you turn your AC down? So we do try to comply with that. And the point of this was to tell you that my glue sticks are actually melting. So I forgot about that and put way too much glue on here. Anyways, okay, there's my first one done. Dreamlike garden, and there's some little dreamlike garden-y things on there. And then there was this other piece of there's like these little things, and then you cut these out and put them on the front of your card if you want. So I'll do a little of that. There's Dream Garden right there. think my cards got smaller, so I'm just gonna cut out like the words and glue them on there so that this isn't taking up my entire little picture. My little card, I mean. Okay, Dream Garden. And I'll put this over here. Yeah, okay. Now, truthfully, I do a lot of dream gardens in my work. Okay. Dream garden. There we go. Okay. I only have like a million more of these to go. The glue will dry a little bit, but that's my first one. Not too bad. I think it goes with the theme a little bit. Okay. Now what? Color blocked marks. Vintage meets modern. Combine old-fashioned ephemera with modern bright abstract marks and paint. Well, I mean, this is modern and abstract. I think that I'm gonna have trouble with this part because I don't think my cards are necessarily gonna go with what's on the front. And then that one, I've cut it too short anyways, so let me do a different one. What's this? Texture through time. Create a sense of time passing by adding layers of collage and muted colors. Nope, that does not work with any of that. Okay. Lines of gold. Well, maybe I could use this one and just I can use this one and put some gold on it. I just have this idea now. What if I just glue the card on there and then cut around it? Okay. Okay, lines of gold. Don't really want that on there. Let me trim that off. Okay, so let me find the other little label that goes with there. Goes with that. Lines of gold. There it is. Okay, and then I think I'm gonna take a gold pen and put some gold in there. Okay, I gotta find something gold. I don't know if I have a gold paint that's gonna or a gold pen that's gonna show up on there. That's why I'm hesitating. So let me see. Add fine, delicate gold lines to highlight specific areas of your abstract painting. Okay. What if I just put some little lines of gold on top of that yellow? I wonder how that's gonna look. And it says fine lines, so I'm gonna pull out this little really fine paintbrush to do that. gold on there because I'm going to use this again in a little bit, I think. Oop. Just put some like okay, well that works. Lines of gold. So I have 2 little cards made now. I'm just going to keep going. So I did keep going, and this was fun, but it really did take me a lot of time. There's probably a better way to cut out all the cards and put the backs on and that kind of a thing. But you know what? We don't always have to be in a big rush. It's just that I hadn't really expected to put that much time into this project. I might do some more. I think I have about 30 of these. I've got lots of different ideas here. This is all really different from the usual work I do, and the color scheme is different. The themes are different. I don't really do abstracty things the way I've done here. And yeah, so do head over to Skillshare and look for this fun class from Denise Love, and she's also here on YouTube. And while you're at it, when you're on Instagram, look for the account Inks and Things. Beautiful work. Thank you.